Hello, everybody out there. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Talk to the Entities specialty. The focus this month is house clearings, house and space clearing from A to Z. I am joined by two amazing Talk to the Entities facilitators, Ryan T. and Manfred. Hi, guys.
Hey, Shannon. Hey, everybody.
So it's pretty fun and it's pretty special to get to have this conversation with Manfred and Ryan because both Manfred and Ryan have been involved and facilitating Talk to the Entities for a pretty long time. So we got some serious experience on this live today. And I was just thinking about the title, which is House and Space Clearing from A to Z. And really, this is Entity Clearing 101. Maybe should have been where we started the whole Talk to the Entities specialty spotlight focus, because I say that the entity clearing is really it's one of the most practical, but also one of the things that you're going to be doing the most. And so often with entities, clearing is so essential and it deals with such a huge majority of what you run into with spirits. So in this context, we are talking about using entity clearing in the context of homes, i.e. haunted houses, and land, which entity presence can have a huge impact on how the earth feels, land, why certain pieces of property can't sell, et cetera, et cetera. So that's sort of like the lens that we're going to have the conversation about clearing entities. And if you are familiar with clearing entities using the Talk to the Entities, i.e. access consciousness method, then I hope you learned something. And if you're not, you prepare yourselves for some cool stories and some awesome practical ways of lightening up your life and the environment you live in with these tools. So who wants to start sharing like a cool entity clearing story?
Well, I can start. I'm from Mexico and I learned to clear energies with different methods before access and before talk to entities. And it was cool to use all these other methods, but what I found very effective and very dynamic about these tools is because it's so clear, and by asking questions you get to the energies you have or want to deal with. So before using other tools, I was like blinded, like I didn't see what was going on or what kind of entities were there. I was just using the methods. But with these tools, it was so direct by asking the questions, just by simply asking, who are you, what are you, what's your job? And suddenly the energy started shifting. When I facilitate these classes, I perceive the space, how is everything changing, and people also changing within and around. So I can say that whenever I use these tools, there is more space. It feels like something shifts and enlightens around the space.
For sure.
Okay, so even though the topic is about house and space clearing, one memory just came back to me. I'm not sure, Shannon, if you remember the first time when you came to Malaysia, 2017, I think. So when I was driving, I think maybe I picked you up from the airport and into the city. You were like pointing at the sky and then like, these are all the entities. And then I look at you, I'm like, what do you mean? Because all the time I thought it was just the air pollution. And then you said one thing, you said like, if like those of us in Malaysia, we like clear entities every day for the environment, and then the sky would clear up. And I was like,
Right.
okay. And
Right.
then after you left, and a few of us did that for days, and it did change the sky. There was one day I looked outside the window, I was like, wow, it's just so clear. Like I've never seen it that clear before.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because actually that falls into like the space clearing aspect
Okay.
of this conversation. So what Ryan is referring to is what I call entity fog.
Yes.
And one of the first places I ever encountered entity fog was actually in Mumbai, India. I had never seen it can easily be mistaken as pollution or smog or like literally fog. But there is such a thing as entity fog, and that occurs when there's just like so many entities. So, and I love that very like that you guys actually did practice clearing entities, and just a few of you were able to make a considerable notable difference in that density or thickness of the entity fog. If someone could do that to Mumbai, that would be that would be like the universe would change. Go India. We're staying presently. Max and I are on a trip in Switzerland, and this is an Airbnb, and and it's very nice. We're in the French Swiss Alps, but about every 10th, like 7th or 8th Airbnb we stay in, it's haunted, right? Like, and not every house is haunted in the same way. Like some are just sort of like lightly haunted, and then some are like really dug in haunted. Weirdly, I find that the most haunted Airbnbs I stay in are in Switzerland. I don't know why that is, but I have a like house and space clearing like loop where I go through like all of the entity and space clearing tools that we use. And sometimes, and so anyways, I like literally put it on repeat for 24 hours upstairs where it felt the most active. And then the next morning, like it was completely different. So when you know how to clear entities, and we can talk a little bit about that here if we want to share those tools, all of you guys that are out there listening that know that you're interested in learning how to clear entities, please recognize that you can do a talk to the entities either beginning class, a house and space clearing specialty class, or even an access consciousness foundation class has these entity clearing tools, which in my opinion are like the easiest, most efficient way of clearing entities. Because like Manfred alluded to, there are other ways of clearing entities. Like it's not, we definitely don't have the monopoly on it. But I like to, we're like the advanced technology of ease with entities. It's the future of possibility, making it more easy. So should we talk a little bit about, I wonder if we should talk about like how houses get haunted. Like we talked, so actually, sorry, I'm sort of jumping. I like the thing that Ryan brought up about the entity fog. And one of the things I'll just add to that before we move on to like how houses get haunted is the reason why places like Malaysia, which is where Ryan and I were when we had that conversation, and places like India have the spirit fog is, because she was like playing with the settings. She's like, oh, what does this do? Is due to the like ancestral worship that goes on in Asian countries. So the only places I've ever been on Earth that have spirit fog are in Asia. And since there's ancestral worship in Asia, and so entities don't really leave, they like stay there, which is where you get, there's our names, which is where you get like the spirit fog, which isn't a bad thing. However, if we all have infinite choice and you don't have to come back to the same family over and over again or the same culture, how much more freedom does that give us in life and as spirits? So yeah, please, Manfred.
And you asked the question, how do we know how to, clear spaces when we feel that? And to me, it's the physical reaction at the beginning, like having headaches or stomach. I remember, now that Ryan was talking about this experience, I remember I facilitated a class in Dubai the very first time. And since there are many cultures there, I wasn't aware that people, I'm talking about ancestors, people are sometimes carrying ancestors. And since there is an interesting mix of people in Dubai from all around the world, I perceive this intensity from all these ancestors from different places in the world. And I didn't know what it was. I felt like I was, like the jet lag and other things, physical things. But 2 days after being in Dubai, I was like, well, it's been 2 days and I'm still having this headache. When I went to this building, the Burj the Khalifa, no, the Burj Khalifa, yes, the
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
I remember I was there and I started seeing people, but my eyes wanted to go above people, like their physical bodies. And I perceived this huge like density and all these beings almost like fighting. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. It's time for me to start clearing entities. And after that is when I stopped having this headache and the space just cleared up and my body had a lot of ease. So that's when I know that it's time also to clear entities. My body feeling uncomfortable, headaches, and or stomach.
Right. And so that's what we talk about, like entity awareness, symptoms, signals, or signs. Like Manfred is indicating like a physiological response to entity awareness. Like in an ideal world, like in a totally conscious world, we would know that there were entities. But what occurs is, since so much of our entity awareness has been invalidated, avoided, or ignored for so long, we tend to have to rely on the secondary and tertiary signals that entities are present, which might be a headache, a stomach ache, coughing uncontrollably is one of mine. But one of the things I want to highlight and indicate about what Manfred was mentioning is being in Dubai, which is a crossroads with a lot of different cultures and countries. And yes, the Arabs also do a lot of ancestor. They do ancestor worship, and it's different than in Asia. But the point being, Manfred was around a bunch of strangers, and he was able to clear entities that he had nothing to do with personally. He was able to clear entities around people he would never meet and had nothing to do with personally. So Manfred was sort of like doing like a public service, like a charitable public service for everybody, you know? And this is the gift that we can be when we're willing to acknowledge that it's entities, right? First step, entities, yep. And then just be us and use the tools. And it is a gift.
Another story that I remember is being in Guatemala at the airport. I remember, well, airports are usually easy for me. I travel a lot, so I make it easy asking questions and asking for the right people to to make it easy for me as well. But this time, every single step in the airport was stopping me, from the entrance to the checking in luggage and then the security point. Every point was stopping me. And at the end, I got to the gate and I was just stressed out and like, what is this? I started asking questions finally. And I perceived these like 20 different beings around me wanted me to take them to the United States because I was living in the United States with.
That's so
And I was
funny.
like, that's interesting. Why would you like to be with me and travel on a plane to the United States if you don't have a body anymore? Sometimes
Yeah.
simple questions like, you don't have a body anymore? Do you know that? Changes everything. And they were like gone. They didn't have to receive more, just being aware they don't have a body anymore.
Right. So to elaborate on that, it's this question of, it's when you're, I mean, it's, yeah, the stuff that not all entities are like conscious that they don't have, like, not all entities are aware that they're ghosts. That's an interesting phenomenon. And so Manfred just brought to these beings attention, like, hey, you guys don't have bodies, which they hadn't realized. They actually thought they had to get on a plane and go to the United States, which entities don't have to. They're not ruled by the same physics that we are with bodies. They're not part of that. Yeah, so sometimes just asking them a question that creates more awareness that they are a spirit is a really quick and effective way of clearing them.
Totally. And I became aware that spirits do have points of view. Like they don't realize they cannot, they can just appear in the United States if they want to. They don't have to anymore though. So they have a lot of points of view, even though they don't have a body.
Okay, so let's segue. Let's use that. So spirits have a lot of points of view. Let's segue that because someone sent in a question. Can you guys, Ryan and Manfred, can you see the questions on the side of the StreamYard?
No.
Okay, So I'll read them because I can see it. So someone said, should I keep ancestral pictures at home? Grandmothers and grandfather who passed away. This is a much different conversation, and I feel like we opened a real can of worms talking about ancestral worship. Thanks, Ryan. Whenever Ryan's around. This is primarily a focused conversation on, I mean, I thought it was actually going to be about clearing entities primarily from homes. And her question is overlapping a lot with ancestral worship, which is a whole other specialty. It's called, what is it called? The myths
It's
of
not really a
ancestors?
specialty, but
Ancestral
you do it-
myths.
Yes.
Yes, ancestral myths, which is a whole other talk to the entity specialty because it's such a huge topic. No one here is saying you shouldn't worship your ancestors, respect them, keep them around, live with them. For all we care, we are entity positive people. We're not promoting that you should get rid of all entities. We work with entities, talk to entities, cooperate with entities, know entities. We are at peace with entities. One of the things you might want to look at if you are living with your ancestors, I mean, she's asking about pictures, but you got to look at if you're performing ancestral worship and you live with your ancestors, which a lot of people do, just like you live with your family members, but these are other family members without bodies. Do those ancestors have points of view? Are you aware of those points of view? And is it allowing everyone to have as much choice and freedom as they could? So I guess I don't really want to go too much into the ancestral conversation because that is a whole, I mean, maybe we should just change tracks because it's a bit too much to cover here, but there's a lot of processing around commitments to your ancestors, so on and so forth. Because in Asia, I know you're raised to believe that it is right and appropriate to listen to your ancestors, basically do what your ancestors want. As an obnoxious American, I do not understand that point of view at all. Born free. So it's less about if you keep pictures of your ancestors at home. It's more like, are you talking to them? Do those relationships work for you? And what do you want to choose now?
And we did a Zoom of, I think, YouTube live 2 years ago about ancestors. It's on the
Yes.
Top 10 Beats YouTube channel.
Actually, yeah, there is. Can somebody, because I saw Ellen put a space clearing product link in YouTube there. Can somebody post in YouTube and Facebook, wherever this is being streamed, that a link to that ancestral myths free conversation that Ryan and I did? Because it's free, and any of you guys that are interested can go and download it from the Talk to the Entities website. There, I see Ellen put it in YouTube. I don't know if it'll be in Facebook, but if you just do Talk to the Entities, go to the Talk to the Entities website, go into the little search magnifying glass and put in ancestors, and you'll find it. So who else wants to talk about cool clearing stories? Anybody?
Okay, so
Anybody?
just now you mentioned like how a house got haunted. That remind me of a few years ago. There was once that when I went back to my hometown where my parents live. I don't go back like regularly. I go back maybe a few times a year. There was once that when I went into that house, the moment that I went in, it just felt so strange, so heavy. And I was like, what happened? The last time when I was here, I didn't feel this. And so I asked my mom, hey mom, what did you do since the last time I came back? And of course, at first my mom said like, nothing unusual. And then after a while, and then I got the information. So because of my mom had some issue with her body, and then someone introduced some, I don't know, some strange prayer to my mom. So if you know, in Asia, like the main entrance, the door is where they put all the like the ancestors' pictures, those gods thing, and so they pray. So that's the place that my mom was doing the prayer every day. And I went in, I was like, what is this? And then it was after a few hours, I kept asking questions, and then I got, oh wow, all the entities, all the demons that were there. So how did that happen? I have no idea. But when a place got haunted, it's most likely someone there doing something that is inviting those entities. And of course,
Right.
I pray them. Yeah.
Right. In that case, your mom
Yeah.
was inviting entities
Yeah.
sort of consciously, but sort of unconsciously. Right. And that is one of the ways in which houses get haunted, because somebody living in the house is actually inviting entities into the house, which is a more common phenomenon than one would think. Some houses are also haunted because somebody like literally died in that house and they don't realize their body died. So they're still living in that house without a body. It happens. There's some entities who are still living in a house or haunting a house because they like built the house, and their point of view is, I own this house, and even they know they don't have a body, but they still don't want to give up ownership of the house. Some entities are waiting in a house for somebody to come back. There's a lot of beings who are like waiting, like somebody went away to war or went away to sea, and they said, I'll promise to wait till you come back. And then like hundreds of years go by and the other person never came back, but that entity's still waiting there. So it's this kind of stuff that goes on in our world that isn't good or bad, but does have an impact on, can have a huge impact on spaces and houses. And when you know how to identify, okay, it's entities, and then you know how to clear the entities, in my opinion, it makes life so much easier, especially if you're entity sensitive like us.
Also, family members stay with people whenever they want to take care of someone. I remember I cleared the house when I started playing with these tools, and I started cleaning spaces. So this lady called me because her house was, well, making a lot of noises and leaks and humidity. So I went there and I was perceiving the energy. And while I was there walking around the house, she was telling me that she was practicing all these new tools, and part of them were access consciousness and others. And she was a very religious person before that, but then she changed tracks. And when I perceived this entity, it was the grandmother, and she was very pissed at her at her, because she was changing tracks, and her mother's point of view was that it was not right to do other stuff other than religion. It was so interesting to perceive that, like, people, family members can be there implanting or wanting to lead them in some way. But she was like, I asked this lady to, well, if she was really ready to let her go, and even though she was mad at her, but it's her life, it's her choice. And at the end, we say goodbye to her grandmother in a peaceful way and very, very nice way. But I realized that also my family members can stay around us, and it's a way that houses can be with entities. And sometimes it's not a great thing to have them if their point of view it's not expansive, as you mentioned before.
Exactly. There's a question from Pragya Garg, and I think I know who this Pragya is, but it might be another Pragya. And she's asking, I witnessed entity fog a few times at night in my home. I'm presuming with the name Pragya, she's in India. So I think we have some context here. I'm presuming. I might not be correct, but she says, I do clear them. However, sometimes I see that it doesn't get cleared. Do I clear more, or is there a different clearing for it? Ryan, or do one of you guys want to talk about portals when clearing entities?
Yeah. So from my experiences, if there are like really a lot of entities, like in a very unusual way, or maybe when you try to clear entities, you know all the tools, you just keep clearing, but you can never clear all of them, then this is the symptom of there might be a portal. So in this case, you ask some questions and see if there's a portal, and then you have to close the portal first. So that might be what you need to try.
Yeah, when there are portals open, there is a constant flow of energy, flow of entities all the time. Sometimes they are hidden, and sometimes they are all out, like was a party all the time. But yeah, like Ryan said, using these tools, just asking the questions and closing the portals, clearing the rest of entities left, creates a lot of space. And yeah, that's a symptom when you clear and it doesn't seem like it goes away. Also, you might want to talk with that entity. It requires something different. So she can, or that entity can go away.
Okay, right. So if you're clearing and clearing and clearing entities and it doesn't ever change, there's a portal. So you just want to ask, is there a portal? And if you get a yes, there is. If you get yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, that means yes. And even if it's a no, you might want to ask if that's an entity saying no. And all you need to do to close a portal is literally say portal close. And if that doesn't work, then you clear the entities whose jobs it is to hold the portal open, then portal close, then clear the entities, then it should work. Unless you like having all the entities there. Or if you live in India. Oh, India, you guys and your entity portals. And remember that, like, if you have the Talk to the Entities beginning manual, there's a whole section on portals. Portals sound pretty big deal and really significant, but they're actually not that complicated to deal with, and it can be a really, yeah, it's just something that you need to learn how to deal with, which you can. Does one of you guys want to take us through like a general entity clearing? Go through the questions just so that everyone hears at once that has never heard the Talk to the Entities entity clearings.
Sure. We're gonna start with the base, the base, which is who are you? This question is mainly for people who passed away, who had a body. Who are you? That question makes them be present. They start thinking about who am I? And you don't have to get the answer. This is the beauty and the dynamic energy of these tools is that you don't have to get the answers. You just by asking the question, the energy goes through and they start perceiving all this. So truth, who are you? Truth, who were you before that? Before that, before that, before that, before that. And we keep asking that question before that. So the entity becomes aware that all their previous lifetimes, it was a choice. They were choosing consciously or unconsciously, but once they become aware, they have a choice. You ask the question, truth, who will you be in the future? And that's where the entity chooses something different. We don't send them to any specific space or place. It is their choice to go whenever or wherever they want to go. And also, that's such a gift. Become aware they have choice. That's one of the first questions we ask.
And the second one, which is kind of similar, it's about the job. So some entities, they remain at a place or quote unquote got stuck at a place, not because of their identities, but because of the job that they have. It could be the job that they have given to themselves, or maybe someone else assigned that job to them. So if you try the first way of clearing the entities and they don't go away, then you try the second way. So which is you ask all the entities, so truth, what is your job? Or what are your jobs? And what were your jobs before that? What were your jobs before that? And what were your jobs before that? At least 3 times. And then the last one is, what will your job be in the future? So then they realize, oh, okay, I don't have to keep doing this. I have a different choice. I can go anywhere I want. So with these 2 clearings, usually handle most of the entities.
We add the other one, which is the what are you? For other kind of entities. What are you? What were you before that, before that, before that, before that? What will be your job in the future? Sorry, what will you be in the future? And basically, these 3 questions would assist any kind of entity from any kind of job or personality or identity. So, yeah, you don't have to get the answer, just asking the questions.
And those clearings, there is on the Talk to the Entities YouTube channel, there are some clearing cartoons that have those questions that go repeatedly in, I think, 19 languages. And you can literally put it on a repeat playlist. And clearing entities, you can you can listen to it in English, but you can also play it in other languages. And you have to remember that the first language is energy. So even if you're clearing, for example, entities that think they speak Mandarin Chinese or who never spoke a language at all, or the playing it through in all the different languages will be effective if you want to play around with that. And recognizing here that we're talking about being more conscious. It's like we're talking about being more conscious of the fact that there are spirits in the world, and then utilizing this practical approach to dealing with the entities that we encounter throughout life. For there are spirits that live on the planet with us, and you know, in Access, we talk about that consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. So that means it includes a lot of entities. Some of those entities are fun. Some of those entities are not fun. And we have the tools to facilitate the expansion and growth of consciousness and deal with entities. So if any of you guys out there want more, please check out the Talk to the Entities classes. There, you learn everything in the you learn a lot in the beginning class and the house and space clearing specialty from A to Z. And yeah, anything else you guys want to add before we finish?
Well, if you want to have a great taste of what is Talk to the Entities, all the curriculum it is, this class for me is like the mini class for all the tools, because we clear entities, portals, other kind of entities that we deal with, and it's very rich in tools. So if you want to get a taste before getting the full class and all the classes, this is such an amazing class.
Brilliant. So you can find Ryan and Manfred online and on the Access Consciousness website and on the Talk to the Entities website. You can find many Talk to the Entities facilitators and classes facilitated in many different languages all over the world. And we look forward to making the world a lighter, easier, happier place with all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.